Hello fellows, it's the end of the road, and today we are going to discuss the last unit for the OL, and it's unit 6, and it's called Different Environments. But for today we are going just to discuss lessons 1, 2, and 3. Now let's move on and talk about the most important vocabulary in lesson 1. And the first one, and it's called flood. Again, flood, and it means a large amount of water covering an area that is usually dry. Now to give you an example, we should say, no one knew that the flood was coming. Now let's move on to the next word, and it's called air pollution. Again, air pollution, and it means the process of making air dirty. And to give you an example, we should know the cost of air pollution in health and other terms. Again, we should know the cost of air pollution in health and other terms. Now let's move on to the next one, and it's called drought. Yes, drought. Again, drought, and it means a long period of time when there is little or no rain. And for this we are going to say, it's been the worst drought in the country history. Again, it's been the worst drought in the country's history. Now let's move on to the next word, and it's called rubbish. Yes, rubbish, and it means things that you throw away because you no longer want or need them. Absolutely, we all know the meaning of rubbish, and for this we are going to just say an example, and it is, I forgot to put the rubbish out last night. Now let's move on to the last word we have here, and it's called water pollution. Again, water pollution, and it means the process of making water dirty. Yes, the process of making water dirty. And for this we are going to say, the state should find a solution for water pollution. Again, the state should find a solution for water pollution. Now let's move on, and here we have 5 pictures. We need to define every picture as the words we talked before. Now we have number 1, as you can see in your right hand, and this must be, yes, this is rubbish. Yes, this is rubbish. Now number 2, yes, we are seeing some cars and there is a large amount of water, and it must be, yes, flood. Again, flood. Now let's move on to number 3. There is a lot of smoke we can see in this picture, so it must be, yes, air pollution. Why? Because you are making the air dirty. Now let's move on to number 4, and it's in the middle, and it should be, yes, drought. Again, drought. Again, drought. Now let's move on to number 5, and we can see that there is a pollution here, and it's called water pollution. Now let's move on. If you can see that when we talk about the adjectives, we should know that we have 2 kinds of adjectives. But before we define the 2 kinds, we should know what is the adjective. The adjective is a word that describes someone or something. When I tell you Muhammad is short, short here is the adjective. Why? Because it describes Muhammad. I'm telling you River Nile is so long. So long here is the adjective, and it describes the River Nile. Now let's move on, and how we define the short adjectives and the long adjectives. To differ between the short and the long adjectives, we should know that the short adjective is just for 1 syllable. I say hot. I don't say who hot. No, I say small. This is 1 syllable. I don't say same all. And for the long adjectives, we just see that it's more than one syllable. When I'm saying comfortable, yes, comfortable. Here I have 3 syllables, comfortable. And when I want to make or to get the comparative way of the adjectives, I should know that with a short adjective, I just add er to the adjective, and after the adjective I put then. Yes, again, with the adjective I put er at the end of the adjective, and then I put the word then. But with the long adjectives, I put more or less before the adjective, and then I put then. Now let's move on to the examples. May was dry last year, but June was drier. Here I am comparing between 2 things or 2 months. They are May and June, and the adjective is dry, so I must put er. Now let's move on to the next example. Is today hotter than yesterday? So I am comparing between 2 things or 2 days, yesterday and today, and the adjective is hot, so we add er, but we must double the letter T, and then we put then. Now let's move on. This book is bad, but the other book is worse. Here we are going to the irregular adjectives. As we know, we have some irregular adjectives, so please pick up your pen and your sheet of paper and write some things down. What are the irregular adjectives? I have an adjective, it's like good. Yes, good. When I want to use it in the comparison, I say better, not gooder, no gooder, it's better. And I have bad, and when I want to use it for the comparison, I put worse, not better. And I have far, and when I want to use it for the comparison, I say farther or further. Okay, now let's move on to the last example here. Watching sports is more relaxing than playing sport. I just want you to know that with a comparison in the long adjectives, I don't add anything to the adjective. I just put more or less before the adjective, and after the adjective I put then. So in this sentence you can see that we said watching sports is more relaxing than playing sport. I am comparing between 2 things, so it should be a comparison. But here it's a long adjective, so we shouldn't put something after relaxing. Now let's move on. Here we have a paragraph, a passage, which is talking about the climate change. And the climate, it means the weather, but for the long time. So today's presentation is about climate change. This means our planet is changing. Here are 2 places that are different now. The first one, it's Australia. In this line graph, the x-axis shows the year and the y-axis shows the change in temperature. You can see that the climate in Australia is becoming hotter and drier. More droughts mean worse fires than ever before. Climate change means Australia is a more dangerous place to live. In this passage, we just need here to focus on the grammar, because later we will just go on for the new words. Here I want you to know and focus that we are using the comparatives here. And I just want you to pick up the comparative adjectives here. Let's move on from the beginning, and when you know the adjective, you can stop the video or pause the video and say the word. In this line graph, the x-axis shows the year and the y-axis shows the change in temperature. You can see that the climate in Australia is becoming hotter and drier. I know that you see the words, the comparative adjectives, so move on. More droughts means worse fire than ever before. Here I have more, but drought is a name, not an adjective, so I will not take it. And yes, I have worse. This is a comparative adjective and it's irregular. Climate change means Australia is a more dangerous place to live. And yes, here I know that I have comparative adjective. Let's move on. Mount Kilimanjaro. This bar chart shows that warmer and drier weather is melting the ice on top of Africa's highest mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro. You can see that the area of ice is much smaller than 140 years ago. The good news is that the ice is not melting as fast as before. However, the ice is continuing to get smaller. Here we have many things to say, so let us focus for the beginning. Let us focus just on the grammar. As I told you before, we are going just to pause the video when we see the comparative adjective. Now let's move on. This bar chart shows that warmer and drier weather is melting the ice on top of Africa's highest mountain. So I know that you just got the comparative adjectives. Let's move on. Mount Kilimanjaro. You can see that the area of ice is much smaller than 140 years ago. Yes, I got it. The good news is that the ice is not melting as fast as before. However, the ice is continuing to get smaller. I have here a comparative one, and yes, you got it. Now, before we end talking about this passage, I just need you to focus on something. I can see that the good news is that, yes, news, you can see S in the end of the word, but this is not a real S for plural. Yes, this is not a plural word. Why? Because after we said the good news, we just put the verb is, and this is a singular verb, not just a plural one. And we can see the good news is that the ice is not melting as fast as before. Here we have a new grammar one, and it's called as adjective as. I talk about as adjective as when I want to say that the two things are the same. Now let's move on to see the new words in this passage. The new one, it's x-axis, and it means the horizontal line that we can see for the word, for the years. If you go back again, you will see it for the years. But the y-axis is the vertical line, and it's for the temperature difference. Yes, now let's move on. The line graph. The line graph means represents the relation between two things or two quantities using broken line, as you can see in the first passage. But the bar chart represents the relation between two things or two quantities using wide lines as bars. And the last word, and it's melt. Melt, to become or make something become liquid as a result of heating. Now let's move on. How to use as adjective as or not as adjective as. Use as adjective as to talk about things being the same. When I'm telling you droughts are as serious as floods, I just want you to focus on this, and I want you to notice that we use the adjective without any addings. We said droughts are as serious as floods. Here I have two words, droughts and floods. I'm comparing between them, but they are the same, so I will put the adjective in its real kind or its real shape without any addings. Now let's move on to the second one and use not as adjective as to talk about things not being the same or less than the other one. Australia is not as hot as Africa. That means Australia is colder than Africa. The ice isn't melting as fast as before. So we have here fast, not faster. Now let's read this passage about Port Said and Tanta. Port Said is located in the northeast of Egypt. The city is known for its ships, which come and go from around the world. Port Said is connected to Suez by Suez Canal, and many fish are caught in the sea near Port Said. I want here to focus on the word fish. And as you can see, I have many fish are. How did you do it? Because here he is talking about the fish, the living fish in the water. And when I talk about the living fish in the water, they are plural and they are countable. So I put many, and for this I choose the verb are, not is. But if you are talking about the food and the fish that you eat for the food, here we will see that it will become a singular noun and it will take is, not are. Now let's move on Tanta. Tanta is located in the north of Egypt. Lots of cotton is grown in the area, and the city is known for its delicious sweets. Tanta's beautiful Al-Ahmadi Mosque is visited by thousands of people every year. Now let's move on and note that again the word fish is countable and plural when you refer to the living fish under the water. But if you refer to the food, then it's uncountable and it's treated as singular noun. Now let's move on. And what is the passive? Actually, we have to know what is the passive. The passive talk, it's not the same and it's opposite to the active talk. So what is the active talk? The active talk is all the talk we do with the tenses we can see. Like, I play football, or Ahmed eats fish. This is an active voice, and here we focus on the subject. Yes, for the active voice we focus on the subject, but for the passive voice you are going to see, we use am is are plus the past participle for the present simple passive when the action is more important than who does it. So here I am focusing just on the action, or when we do not know who did something. Let's see, people grow lots of cotton in the area. And here, because cotton is uncountable noun, so it will take is. So how to get the form of the passive out of the active one? As you can see, people is the subject, grow is the verb, lots of cotton is the object, so we start with the object. I see that I said lots of cotton, this is the object, and then I put am or is or are. So cotton, as I said, it's uncountable noun, so it will take is. And we will put the verb grow in the third form or the past participle, and it will be grown. And we will just complete the sentence without putting the subject, because here we know that we just do not focus on the subject. We know Tanta for its delicious sweets. So we is the subject, no is the verb, Tanta is the object. So I will start with the object, Tanta, and I will put am or is or are. So Tanta is a singular noun, it will be is, and no, the past participle of no is known, and complete the sentence. So Tanta is known for its delicious sweets. And it's time to answer some exercises, so please don't go away. Hello again. Now it's time to answer the questions. So number 1, choose the correct answer from A, B, C, or D. Now number 1, it's raining heavily this week. I think there will be a serious. So you will get your 3 seconds. And yes, the answer will be yes. It's raining heavily this week. I think there will be a serious flood. Now number 2, there are so many cars in big cities and this causes much air. Yes, this causes much air pollution. Now number 3, space cars are better than usual cars. They don't pollute the environment. So yes, the electric cars are better than the usual cars. Number 4, every activity people do can damage or help we live in. So we're living in, yes, the environment. Every activity people do can damage or help the environment. So number 5, some countries are serious because there isn't any rain for a long time. So some countries have serious droughts because there isn't any rain for a long time. Number 6, Egypt has a worm all over the year. Climate change, climate, weather, air, or wind. So here we must differ between climate and weather. To differ between them, it's so easy. So climate is the weather but for a long time and all over the year. But weather is just for days or maybe week. So Egypt has a warm climate all over the year. And this week the weather is going to be very hot. Now let's move on to number 8. That is getting higher because the climate is changing. So you will have your 3 seconds. And the answer is going to be yes. The temperature is getting higher because the climate is changing. Number 9. Climate change can cause ice on tops of mountains to, yes, melt. Climate change can cause ice on tops of mountains to melt. Now number 10. Many countries try things to help the environment. Actually, they are not trying to damage things, but they are just trying recycling things to help the environment. Now number 11. Energy doesn't damage the environment, it's good for it. So it will be yes, green energy doesn't damage the environment, it's good for it. Now number 12. Don't leave your here, you should take it to the nearest bin. So I should take the rubbish to the nearest bin, and it will be don't leave your rubbish here, you should take it to the nearest bin. Now number 13. People think that beaches are space because people go there and forget their worries. So yes, beaches are relaxing. So people think that beaches are relaxing because people go there and forget their worries. Now let's move on and choose the correct answer from A, B, C, or D. Our house is comfortable than this hotel. So it will be yes. Our house is more comfortable than this hotel. Number 2. Sarah is than her sister. So yes, Sarah is younger than her sister. Who is You or your sister? A clever, cleverer, cleverly, clever. So yes, who is cleverer? Yes, who is cleverer, you or your sister? Number 4, my car, his. So my car is older than his. I think London is more beautiful than New York. Number 6, we can run as fast as they can. Number 7, the film Matrix 2 was not as interesting as Matrix 1. Now number 8, I don't earn as much money as you do. Number 9, we read books than before. So we read fewer books than before. Yara's room is small than Layla's. Here we need to read and correct the underlined words. Yara's room is smaller than Layla's. Number 2, this tablet is expensive than that one. So it should be this tablet is more expensive than that one, or is less expensive than that one. Number 3, football is more popular than handball, so it will be football is more popular than handball, not then, it will be then. Number 4, today it's not windy as yesterday, so yes, today is not as windy as yesterday. Now to the last one here, and my result in the test is bad than last year's one, and bad for the comparison we say worse. So my result in the test is worse than last year's one. And now we have answered all these questions orally, so it's your turn to answer them again yourselves. And thank you for watching this video.